Hi everyone, welcome back to the TradeInformer podcast. Today I'm joined by Rob Brown. Rob is head of strategic development at Mass Markets. He was also one of the the first investor in the business, and is kind of almost like a co-founder with Simon. So Rob, thanks very much for joining me. First question is, you guys recently put out some financials results. Those were really amazing. I think you almost doubled revenue again. That's like second year on the trot. You, I think, have already surpassed this year or this financial year revenue from last year. My question was really like how you have done that, because obviously your main offering is sort of liquidity. I think if you look around, it's a super sort of commoditized product where there's lots of people offering something very similar, if not the same, in terms of like pricing, all that kind of stuff. So how have you managed to grow so much, given that's the case, right? It's like super competitive, and you started from basically zero to building out like a pretty impressive business.
Yeah, so we've had a really, really good year. I think the market is quite competitive. Where we've really succeeded beyond just pricing, providing really good quality access to market. We access, aggregate liquidity from tier one banks, non-banks, from venues. But beyond that, I think really it's about the ancillary services that we actually offer. How can we support the existing clients? What products and services can we provide that's going to add value to their actual business? So, we've launched Mass Digital, which is a solution to allow clients to deposit in stable coins and then utilize that capital for trading collateral. That's definitely been something that's really supported clients in certain regions, which they like to utilize that way of funding. We have launched the money market product. So for clients that have unused capital on their account, we can provide them interest at a reasonable level, which there's no lock-in period. We have Mass Fund, which is a product which provides capital to successful traders. So again, when we're talking to certain clients and strategies which they want to kind of scale, one thing that they require is capital. We're able to support them with that capital to help them really scale up that business. So I think what we've really done is create an environment for our clients to come into where they're not just focusing on the price, because the price is pretty similar at most places. So I think what we've done really well is provided a really good environment for people to come in where they can utilize some of the other products and services, which adds additional value. Yeah. So that's where we've been spending most of our time.
Yeah. And what does the customer base look like at this point? Because obviously, my audience is mainly from the sort of CFD broker space, but I think you guys do. You have a broader mix than just CFD brokers, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we have, I guess, the professional client space.
Yeah.
So that includes small hedge funds, asset managers, retail brokers, professional clients. So those that don't necessarily have access to a credit intermediary, we step into that space and provide that access. So we don't offer any services to retail clients. So it's just those that would be classified as professional clients.
Yeah. And just, for you personally, I think when the company started, when was the company started actually? It was like 5 years ago?
So I think we've been operating for about 4 years now. Yeah. And the company was incorporated in like mid 2020. Yeah. So I guess about 4 years, 4.5 years we've been operating.
And I remember when Simon has that picture, I think, of you guys in the first office somewhere in, I think it was in Putney or something, right?
It was in Fulham, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like leaking ceiling and all this stuff.
Yeah, we had a few dramas when we first sort of got going. Yeah. But, I think what we've really done is aligned ourselves with really good strategic partners that have allowed and helped support us to go to market really quickly in a very competitive space to kind of allow us to move up quite quickly. But yeah, that was some office.
Yeah, but what for you personally? I mean, what has it been like to go from? I think now you have multiple offices, right? You definitely have at least two.
Yeah.
You have much bigger team, even I think compared to say 12 months ago to today.
Yeah.
What has that been like as almost like a co-founder of the business? Has it been hard to grow like that? Have there been problems that you, didn't anticipate?
Yeah, look, I think we really just want to work with really good people.
Yeah.
We've had like a level of investment into the business and into people to really get to this stage. But yeah, like I think, again, with myself, with Simon and the rest of the team, we've just gone with the flow and kind of worked out where we need to be in order to kind of grow the business. And a lot of that just comes down to working with really good people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our focus has been.
How do you find those? Like, it's because that's like a very difficult thing to do, right? Like, isn't it? Do you think that's just from you guys being in the industry for quite a long time?
We've got a lot of people that have come to us from our own network of people that we know, that we've worked with in the past, that have come into the business.
Yeah.
We've also got other people that we didn't know that have been recommended, and we use like sometimes like recruiters that point us in the right direction. So I think a combination of everything, but I think we're just looking for the people that can actually help support our next growth and has got the same vision as where we think that we can actually go as a business.
Yeah. And what would you say has been the hardest thing about growing the business so far?
It's waking up in the morning. No, look, I think there's always challenges. Getting the right liquidity is hard. Helping support the clients is hard. The whole business, it's not an easy business to operate in and to grow.
Yeah.
There's been lots of challenges, but there's also been like fantastic like upsides. Like we've had some really good experiences within the business. We've met some really great people. We've got really good investors that have come into the business to help us.
Yeah.
So in general, we've we take the good with the bad, I think. There's been equal measures on both sides. But I probably couldn't say the worst moments.
And I know for crypto, like you personally are a true believer. I'm still, despite everything, still kind of skeptical of that. And you obviously built out regulated arm in Lithuania, I want to say.
Well, we've had a site challenge there in Lithuania due to kind of European regulation with MiCA. So we've made some changes there. We now operate that business in Canada under a registered regulated MSB called Mass Digital. So we operate the business from there, but same principles, OTC desk and just converting cryptocurrencies into fiat or vice versa.
Yeah. And is that something you think you'll build on, given and do you see more demand for the product? So firstly, in terms of like you'll add new products, and secondly that you still see good demand for basically the existing services.
I think in the crypto space is so open. There's so much happening across all industries, not just where we service clients. The demand is still there, and I think there's a lot of interest in that space. We do a very, very small part of that, and we just convert crypto into fiat currencies for our clients to be able to utilize that for trading. Would like to go beyond that to see how else we can provide services across the board. But yes, it's super interesting, space, and I think we will look to kind of innovate a bit more and try and drive, that part of the business forward for sure.
And what sort of things do you think you would end up doing? Is there, just as an example, would you do something like some kind of perpetuals offering or?
Yeah, look, I think we work in a space where we operate and provide trading services. So naturally, I think if everyone does what they do in the traditional world into the digital space, that's a really good, easy way to start. Offering trading solutions in crypto should be kind of what we do. In terms of tokenization of certain assets in different industries, like obviously we don't do that, and it will. It's not the area that we would probably look to do, but offering like more trading products, solutions is where we would like focus our energy, I think, in the crypto space.
Nice. And you mentioned these other services you have, so like the mass fund, for example. I think that is. Can you talk a bit about what that is actually? Because my understanding is it's almost like you find someone who's good at trading you allocate capital, something like that.
Yeah.
But can you talk about like how do you actually find those people, and then also where the investment in their strategies is coming from?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more of a grown-up version of what we're seeing with the prop trading firms.
Yeah.
We have professional traders trading with us. We've got really close relationships, and one of the things that stood out was that for them to actually do more trading, what do they need? So it boils down to they need more capital allocation to be able to trade more. So we started with some capital introductions. We had some investors that were looking to invest in strategies. So we kind of matched them up. And, about 18 months ago, we decided, if we were to actually put this into more of a consolidated vehicle, can we be a bit more in control of it? So we launched Mass Fund, which is regulated in Luxembourg. We have currently 2 strategies running. We've officially finished our first 12 months. I think we generated around about 29.9% return in our first year. And I think it's really interesting. It's something that clients can look at as an opportunity. And also for the investors that are coming in, they like the returns. We're currently operating it as like a delta neutral strategy. So in terms of market risk, it's limited. So from the investor perspective, they like that. And, as we grow and as we find more traders that are actually successful, it gives us more opportunity to be able to allocate capital to some of those. So again, it's within our own ecosystem. We want clients, we want to help our clients as opposed to, sending cash to external venues or different places. So it's definitely a tool to help support our existing clients, but also something that at the moment is generating really good returns for the investors.
Yeah. And can you talk about a bit like how you find what the traders who you've given set up funds for, what they're sort of who they are basically? I mean, I don't know how private that is, but just in terms of what their sort of background is, because I feel like it can be some guy who's just sitting at home with his computer, or it could be someone who was, say, a really successful fund manager and then he quit his job and was trading his own account type of thing. And also sort of how they find you, right? Because I think if you look at your peers in the same space you're active in, obviously the CFD broker market is it's quite easy to find those people, whereas I feel like professional traders who are also a potential client are a kind of it's much rarer beast, if you like. It's more difficult to find those people, and perhaps for them to find you as well. But I just don't know if that's a correct analysis, basically.
Yeah, look, I think in equal measures, I think you're right. It is difficult to find successful traders. But ultimately we're geared up as a brokerage to provide execution services. We don't manage any risk, so naturally we are attracting those that are probably a bit more successful. And we do have some criteria. We've got investment managers that monitor some of the strategies, so if they're interested in becoming part of this, we have quite strict guidelines in terms of drawdowns, what we're looking for, how that part operates. So at the moment we've got 2 really good strategies and clients or now traders that we work with, portfolio managers. We want to find more active traders that have got good strategies that we can allocate capital to. But we're not in any rush to kind of give loads of cash out. We want it to be right. Number one, for the investors, we want to keep a really good return for them. And also we want to help those that actually have got something decent, and if they had a little bit more capital, it would help them trade a bit more. It's good for the brokerage business. We generate revenue from execution, and if the returns are good, it's good for the investors, and hopefully it's really good for them to know that actually getting supported not only by providing good liquidity, but also some capital to help drive their business forward as well.
But can you say anything about sort of who
I can't tell you who they are.
Or just give us not, you don't necessarily have to give a name, right? But I just mean in terms of
background.
So background, because again, I think for a lot of people, their perception might be okay, if you're a super successful trader, then you can just go to you can raise capital fairly easily. You can go to get a PB relationship with whoever, it's not super hard.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like maybe you would attract a different
Yeah, look,
person,
I think
but
if you
don't
want to go down that route,
Yeah.
it is still quite capital intensive. You know, the cost wise to get the PB, the cost wise of operating the technology, the cost wise of being able to actually set up your own fund or your own operation is quite costly.
Yeah.
If you're purely trading, you know, their skill set may not be, you know, raising capital. So it's a whole new ball game that they need to look at. If you're purely trading, or you've got an algo, or you've got something that works really well, this is kind of a help for them to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, again, if you've been at a bank or if you've been at a prop trading firm, and you know you've got something that's really interesting, and you want to do something on your own where you've got a bit more control, but you don't necessarily have the resources or the skill set to, you know, to set up what you need to get funded or to operate in that space. This kind of marries up the both. We give you the access to liquidity, we give you access to capital, we provide, you know, the cost for technology, and if you have got something that's good, then you just trade. You know, what we like to see is clients trading first, so we can actually see that it actually does work on our liquidity. But you know, that's a tick box exercise. So yeah, it's you know, it's definitely been interesting to have conversations with emerging managers to see what they need, and I think it boils down to not wanting to actually spend the, you know, or not having a skill set to do that part, but really good at doing the trading side.
Yeah. It's like computer programmer or something. He's like a nerd.
Yeah, it could
he's
be.
like a nerd,
Yeah.
and then he's not that good at dealing with people, so he just leaves it to you guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him the nerd, but I think, yeah, you know, everyone has different skill sets, you know, and if we can help support, you know, someone that doesn't want to do that part, then I think it's a, you know, it's a really interesting synergy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would assume that the sort of LP side for brokers is still, you know, like the main thing that you're doing, and obviously the past, let's say, 6 months have been kind of insane in markets.
Yeah.
And can you talk a bit about what that's been like, and has that been positive for you guys, or has it been very difficult?
Yeah, there's obviously been previously huge concentration risk in like the precious metals side. You know, so you know, the early part of the year, obviously we're seeing that part go crazy. You know, for us, we don't take any risks, so we've not necessarily got that mindset. You know, it's great for like trading volumes because you tend to get more activity happening when the markets are more volatile. I think February and March, it's been a bit more subdued. I think, you know, we've seen globally lots of tensions, which again creates uncertainty. And although volume is fantastic, or volatility is fantastic, there is also a fine balance. So, you know, what happens now? So we're definitely seeing a bit more of a subdued, maybe more of a cautious market. But yeah, concentration levels in certain instruments have, you know, been crazy.
Yeah. And does that, I mean, has that made your life harder or not really?
We'd like it more diversified. But yeah, no, it doesn't make it any more difficult or less difficult. Executions have been decent, technologies, no issues. So from that perspective, operating the business, it's not had any real material impact. In terms of business as having more diversification, more, you know, assets, different asset classes being traded, I think, you know, most businesses would probably prefer to have it a bit more diversified. But yeah, let's see what happens, you know, over, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah,
I think no one does.
Yeah.
But does that, you know, when you're in that position, does that has everything that's happened, say, opened doors that maybe previously were closed, or people are more open to conversations? I just think that when stuff like this happens, people start to realize, actually maybe I should, or they start to think maybe I should be hedging out more than I was previously.
Yeah, I think you definitely have more conversations with prospects that maybe previously didn't need to have another LP. So it definitely opens up more conversations, you know, depending on how their previous relationships have gone, if they've had any big issues on the trading side. So it definitely awakens, you know, wakens up more conversations with prospects that may be thinking it'd probably be a good idea to have an alternative provider right now. Everyone sort of tends to be a bit more cautious, leverage gets reduced, so again then you have more of those conversations with those that are looking to maybe some chancers that want more leverage because they've been restricted elsewhere. So it opens up more conversations for sure when there's a bit more turbulence happening.
Yeah. And do you guys do anything in terms of, I'm not exactly sure how to phrase it, but basically with, let's say pricing, right? Because I think if you think about how someone, the price that someone executes against you is probably as big a risk as, say, the inventory that you have, if that makes sense. So like, I think that's a massive problem in the CFD broker space, right? Which is actually something we were talking about before recording, is like, if you show a bad price, you will get hit really hard. And there seems to be like different solutions on the market for that in terms of, say, adjusting pricing for certain category, client tags, things like that. Is that something that you guys have done anything on, or is
so
it...
we have like really simple business model. We aggregate liquidity from good liquidity sources and charge an execution. So there is an element of like optimization, so we can customize feeds based on flow. So we spend a lot of our time on making sure we match up the right LPs with the right client flow. So that's probably what we spend a lot of our time on the pricing wise. In terms of managing it to that extent, like, it's not something that we currently do or probably would really look at. But we do optimize. We would look at post trade, what happens, is that good for our providers, because ultimately we're reliant, we sit in a really small niche place. We're reliant on our liquidity providers to give us the best available price. If they get the flow that they're not comfortable with, they tend to go wide, or it becomes a bit more difficult to create that competitive price that we need to win the flow. So it's a really fine balance to keep clients happy and liquidity providers happy. So that's why we kind of tend to do a lot on the customization to make sure that we mix the right flow with the right providers to kind of help scale that up.
Is that you working on that day to day?
Not me working on that day to day. So we have some really good people internally that manage those relationships, manage that process, monitoring, like a liquidity management team that do that. But it's obviously central to what we operate as a business. We're a liquidity provider at the end of the day. So we're only as good as the pricing that we get, and if we spoil that, then it could affect the rest of our clients and the volumes and the revenues that we make as a business.
I know this, maybe you sort of touched on this earlier, but having grown the business over the past few years, is there something where a broker will come to you as an LP, or you'll go to them, and you feel like it's the most common, let's say, selling point or problem that they're facing that you can handle? Like, is there a common thing where they go to you and go, okay, you guys have this solution, or you can fix this problem, therefore we will use you?
I think it's quite more unique than everyone's got that same issue. But there's definitely common themes that happen that I can identify really quickly and work out what would be good to help support those clients that are facing some of those challenges. It's I think it's a case by case basis. FX bullion, it's a bit more simple because we use credit intermediaries to access the market. If you're a broker and you don't have a credit intermediary, then you've got immediate value because we can provide you that access. CFDs, crypto CFDs, indice trading is obviously there's not really like an underlying market for that. So you tend to have to rely on different liquidity providers, different brokers, for example, that provide those services. So there's definitely, it's a bit more challenging in that space to unless you're making your own price to actually add value, for sure.
Okay, I can see we're almost we've almost run out of time. So final question would be, can you talk about any big plans you guys have for this year? I mean, we were talking before and you were saying how you guys are basically reinvesting almost all the money you make back into the business. So presumably you're investing in something to grow. So can you talk about what that is, and or if you can?
Yeah, and so we've got some really good plans, immediate plans, which I think you'll probably hear about like pretty soon. Currently, I can't really say too much about what that is, but I think it's going to be a massively fundamental difference in our business, and it should project us into a different space altogether. Alongside that, we're looking to get more regulation, more global regulation, looking to expand the distribution team. We're pretty much integrated into all of the top technology providers globally, so that really helps with distribution. So from our side, it's just about really continuing to do what we do, drive more volume, onboard more clients, provide them with value so they stay with us, and hopefully at some point we get to a point where we feel like we've achieved something that's decent.
Yeah, I think you already have,
Nearly.
No, I think you definitely have. So Rob, thanks so much for doing this, and thanks everyone for watching. We will see you in the next episode.